running here, but we haven't seen too much Omni Knight in the current patch. Why do you think that is?
I think it's just a hero that struggles to get out levels, and it doesn't really have too much lane presence.
Right.
And as an off-laner, it's not that great because you can put pretty much any hero one-on-one against it that's on a melee, and it'll win. And so I think sometimes it'll struggle to find... But the last time I actually saw an Omni Knight pick, it was EG against Empire at MLG. It went terribly for them.
Yes, it did.
But I think this game, they have a much better game plan. It seems a lot more coherent. I think the Omni Knight pick is meant to help out Sumail as much as possible. And I think I saw PPD's blog after the match, and he's like, we put too much on Sumail. We needed a little bit more to help him out. And I think this is the game where they'll have a little bit more backup for him.
All right, you guys can already see the sneaky play from DK Phobos being able to get off that early ward. AUI running out with the boots isn't even there. This is the real X Games.
Right, so he remembers.
EG, they're hoping to be able to bring the Omni Knight back in style here, but they are facing up against a Darkseer offlane. There's not much an Omni Knight can really do to keep him out. So where does PPD go? You said he was trying to help out Sumail. Does he help him out in the laning phase at all? Does he go to the offlane to try and make sure that Universe does okay there? What does our Omni Knight do?
I think if you're an Omni Knight player, you just have to get levels. And that's the thing I think that's interesting about EG's draft, because I really want to know how they happen to zone the Darkseer off, because typically what you'll see is that AUI will eventually kind of play aggressively on his own and try to farm up a Blink Dagger as fast as we can. We saw him play the Naga Siren the other day, and how he decided to play it when he decided he was going to get 6-slotted.
Yeah.
And so I'm really interested to see how he's going to balance A, zoning the Darkseer out, and B, getting his own amount of farm, because everybody here knows by now that AUI is the greediest player here, bar none.
Now, our analysts had a little bit of issues here with the early Winter Wyvern pickup. Now, obviously, it's very successful in the hands of Virtus Pro, but they said, you know, there's a lot of magic damage coming out, and there's that first one, too, and there's even more now with the Lion, obviously, being there. You even have the Phantom Lancer's Lance coming out. Do you think the Winter Wyvern was actually a wise pickup early on in the draft?
Sorry, I was looking at Fear for a second on the monitor.
He's doing wrist exercises.
Okay,
you know, you do those a lot, right, Blitz?
Yeah. He's got the shake weights in his hands, but what I think about the Winter Wyvern, I think it's just a hero that VP likes. It's a comfort hero, right?
Sure.
It's the same, I think, why they picked Illidan's Slark, and I think it's why they picked G pretty much any mid hero, right? Like any sort of snowballing mid hero he's going to be successful on. And I think the Winter Wyvern works really well with their strategy, because what they like to do, and I talked to Matt about this, is they really want to snowball. They want to try to force aggressive fights early on, and Winter Wyvern just gives you such a high amount of outplayability. Like, if you mess up against that hero at all, you group together a little bit too hard, you get cursed, everything just goes to hell.
The combination here from VP is going to be pretty sick as well. If they can actually get a really good vacuum into Winter's Curse, or even Winter's Curse, and then bringing people into that AoE via vacuum, then they have the Sand King, Epicenter, Burrow Strike to follow that up. Obviously, the swarm of Queen of Pain abilities that can be thrown out. I mean, there is just an absolute ton of AoE coming out from VP. EG are going to have to play really careful coming into these team fights. Do they just try and split push for the most part and really abuse the Phantom Lancer pickup?
I think so. Typically what we do see is that VP kind of does this death ball where they hit a Roshan timing with a mech or something like that and try to 5-man. But I actually think this is the one game where things are going to be incredibly different for them. I feel like they have a little bit better late game, and, well, maybe not. It's going to be pretty close. Like, they have pretty reliable damage dealers. They've got good team fight. They'll probably try to hit a mid-game timing where their Slark and their Queen of Pain have BKBs, is what I'd imagine. But I think if you're Virtus Pro, you can't fight without BKBs.
Now, we see a little bit of a heavier stat build. Sumail doesn't go all the way for the Wraithband here, but just kind of splits it. With the cheaper Circlet, it seems like this is a bit more viable early build. He also already had his Salve on him before the Bounty Rune, which, as you can see from God, is usually the play. You pick up the Bounty, use that to be able to buy yourself some additional regen. Why do you think Sumail went for this almost, it feels like split build, essentially?
You usually do this whenever you play against a disadvantageous matchup where you just want stats, but you want a bit of a faster bottle than a Wraithband +2 Ironwood Branches would give you.
Sure.
Like, it's going to let you get the bottle a little bit more reliably, and you don't have to all in without getting any sort of regen, because you don't want to just use that first 100 gold to get more regen. Like, you're okay with just the salve, more or less, and Against the Queen of Pain especially, you're going to get tons of harass with the dagger follow-up, and the Shadow Fiend can't really trade back. So what you're doing is you're using that salve to get you to level 3 so you can actually fight the Queen of Pain.
Right, and look what Sumail's kind of forced into doing here. He's going to have to blow the salve soon. God is really trying to push that advantage, and if he pushes it enough, he knows how reliant Sumail's going to be on that bottle, but potentially they could just easily get the first blood here with Lil coming in from behind. There it goes, first blood for God. That is not what you wanted to see if you're an EG fan. God, of all players on the side of VP, the most snowballing of snowballers, able to get that coveted first blood gold.
Yeah, and I think nowadays he's well regarded as one of the top 3 mid laners in Europe. But that gank setup was so beautiful by that Winter Wyvern. I had zero idea that was happening. I actually thought he was just trying to snipe the courier in case more regen came.
Well, I believe that was the plan, right? Yeah. If the fast enough bottle is out from Sumail, he is able to snipe it. But God just brings Sumail so low that you're like, well, why do I want to wait for the bottle if I can just get first blood?
How often do you see a gank go off where you don't come around the corner, you actually cut between the tier 1 and the tier 2 mid? That's actually one of the few times I've seen that.
Yeah, that's the power of the Winter Wyvern right there, is one of the few heroes alongside like maybe Tusk who can utilize that cliff to actually go for the gank, and we might just see another kill here, but they think it's going to be on Sumail, but it might just be Lil who's forced back over that bit of trees and will be able to get himself away. The invisible Omni Knight kind of spoiling the plans of VP.
Yeah, but still, PPD's forced to rotate. This means he's not going to get a lot of levels. And it's not a hero like Earthshaker where you only need the level 1 fissure to be effective. You need more than a single level of repel to be able to do anything as an Omni Knight. And so they're going to have to find a better plan for this mid lane because Sumail's not getting enough mid for this to be worth it for EG.
Checking out some of our other lanes, we've got both the carries on EG and VP, right about the same CS. Our offlaners, a little bit more CS, well, actually just one CS going the way of Earthshaker over our Darkseer, which is a little bit surprising. Universe is level 2 compared to DK Phobos, who's about to pick up his level 3, and he's got a big wave coming his way as well. So seems like DK Phobos is going to take the slight advantage, but that's kind of to be expected, right? The Darkseer just able to do a little bit more with the offlane and kind of pressure the advantage he gets in a 1 versus 2 scenario.
Yeah, and he scales so well. Every single level of the Ion Shell, just doing more and more. It's going to make it difficult for Fear to be able to sit there, and the Lion doesn't actually have the best base damage. Like, it was increased, but he doesn't have the best harass. Like, he's gone for the mana drain at level 2, and so the kill potential might be there. He's going to mana drain up DK Phobos, and
yeah, I think that's a really good play. Like, just being able to take away that Ion Shell spam as much as possible is going to be pretty critical for allowing Fear to live through the lane. Now, we see a lot of Phantom Lancers. I was just about to ask you, does he go for the early Vlads here in this lane just to be able to get that extra natural sustain due to the fact that he's going to be dealing with this Ion Shell for probably at least another 5 minutes, right?
I think he should be okay because eventually the Darkseer will understand that the bottom lane is going to be a little bit too rough for him, I think, and just go to the jungle. Like, if that was a Universe Darkseer, I feel like he just goes to the jungle as soon as he sees the lane is difficult.
Right.
But I think it just depends on how much he thinks he can get out of that lane, and VP are diving pretty deep for this. I don't think this is a commitment at all, especially with PPD there.
No, definitely not.
To hit the tower a little bit more because they have the Siege Wagon.
Yeah, makes sense. Double range creeps plus the Siege Wagon, hoping to be able to basically zone out those 2 heroes away from the experience as well. So, good play, obviously, but no kill potential whatsoever. Not with the Omni Knight there. The Repel is going to be one of the strongest abilities EG has to keep back the aggression of VP for the first 20 minutes.
And DK Phobos is still in this lane, and I think this is the right idea. And he's actually going to fight toe-to-toe with AUI. Face-to-face combat, but shouldn't be able to do too much because AUI has boots.
Yeah, he's got that magic stick, the early magic stick pickup, especially against the mana drain. Like, he knows he's getting 2 spells out of that line every single time, plus probably a lance, so that early stick has a lot of value to it. Now, DK Phobos is going to take a lot of damage here. He still gets the surge and will be able to get ahead of that illusion, so he's fine. But he did lose a lot of mana and HP in the process.
Yeah, and what they're trying to do there is that even if he gets CS, what Fear wants to do is just zone out the Darkseer from getting levels. Because once you get to level 5, you have 3 levels of the Ion Shell, and it's so dangerous. And G right now in this mid lane gets quite low, but this is what you expect in the Queen of Pain versus Shadow Fiend matchup, is that if he's relatively uncontested, and with PPD there for so long, he should be, then eventually he'll catch up.
Right. The first blood, it was a huge bonus for God, but it didn't actually set Sumail that far back. I mean, he didn't have that many souls in the first place, and now that he's got levels, you know, that level 3 raise, being able to clear through not only the creep wave, but also push back against God is going to be a significant factor. Sumail can probably also utilize the Radiant Jungle, which is a huge advantage for an SF mid.
Yeah, and FNG is just continuing to stack. And this is a smart play because if EG kind of holds neutral right now and they don't really do too much, VP should outfarm them, and that's what we're seeing right now as the Darkseer does just rotate it to the jungle, and I think this is the right idea. He's not getting enough out of bottom to warrant keep staying in that lane, whereas like an Earthshaker can't really go to the jungle. Like, he has to stay in the lane, but the Darkseer, you're not really contesting Fierce Farm too much. Like, he's still free farming, and I think DK Phobos realizes that, and he should just rotate out.
So early mech, most likely for our Darkseer. Is that the item, just more natural team fight for VP?
I think so. It really helps against the burst damage that EG have with the fissure. Like, after the fissure lands in one raise, you get the mech off, you heal everybody to full, and then you can re-engage. Because once that stun is down, there's no more hard commitment that can come from EG.
Right. Now, here's the advantage that we were talking about for the Radiant jungle. Sumail and PPD can both stack up those camps, and SF is actually spending probably a good minute here just farming up these 2 camps and allowing PPD to actually get a little bit of solo experience in the middle lane, where he obviously shouldn't die to God.
Yeah, and if you notice, the Phantom Lancer, instead of getting something like a Vlad's, he just grabs a bottle because he needs some regen. Like, you were correct there, but I think getting the Vlad's is too hard of a commitment. And the build-up isn't great on it, I think. And so getting the bottle, though, it does allow you to fight, and there's only one hero on your team that's going to get one. And that's probably Fear and Sumail. That's 2 heroes, but I meant Sumail's the only other person on your team that's going to grab one.
Right.
So it's not like you're going to screw him over out of runes or anything like that.
Well, this is an interesting rotation. Looks like they actually really want to try and fight this one. They're going to go on to Fear here, but what they don't realize is the Universe right in the side with a 2-man Fissure to lead things off. God coming in with his screen, but FNG has already dropped Cell Heal low. He pops the Sandstorm, able to get that Bro Strike to stop Fear, and there goes the Sonic Wave to blow him up. The second kill going to VP, as it looks like FNG will be able to get out in time.
Yeah, and I don't think they'll continue to chase this. G's just going for that bottom rune, and the crazy thing is that EG knew that was coming. They even rotated their offlaner down, and it was still successful. FNG, who's been pulling the entire game, finally shows himself, and EG, I think they kind of had an idea that was happening, but they still weren't able to stop it, and I'd be really surprised if G decides to go for this. He doesn't have his ultimate. Sumail does have enough HP to survive the burst, and I think he's actually just going to go down bottom C, that he can't really do anything about it, and zone out. Like, he thinks that AUI is here, but as soon as he sees Universe, he'll just blink.
Yo, blink just ahead of that Fissure. Universe, unfortunately, missing out on some damage there. Meanwhile, Lil is taking over that middle lane, trying to get closer to that critical level 6 and that big-time ultimate. What about our Slark here? We talked about the Phantom Lancer a bit, but Illidan is also completely free farming. What's his item build? Do we see Blink Dagger or Shadow Blade? Or maybe an early SNY?
I think the Shadow Blade isn't the best option. Even something like SNY or going stat heavy into a BKB is probably going to serve him best. They should have a diffusal carrier at some point in the game, but Universe is going to get gone on, and he's getting quite low. Illidan pops the ult, he's going to get the kill, and that's a solo kill as Sumail rotates as well.
Yeah, Sumail will be able to clean up this creep wave, but a huge loss there for EG. 0-3 now to the favor of VP. Not a big surprise, though. VP known for a lot of their early aggression, and EG, as the analyst panel has stated a couple times, have kind of slowed down their game a bit. Blitz, do you agree with that? And have you noticed that from EG, that they feel like they're playing a little bit more conservatively in the first 15 minutes?
Oh, for sure. When I first started casting EG, what I noticed is it was a team that never gave you an inch. Like, they would build up 30k gold leads without throwing them away, and then they would Roshan 3 more times before they ended the game. And it felt like when they were at their peak of dominance, they started to maybe get a little bit more sloppy, or they got a little bit more careless. But it feels like Sumail has really toned down his play. You know, he's letting things develop for him. It feels like EG is kind of finding their confidence again.
Sure.
But I think VP, honestly, they do play a little bit formulaic, but everybody knows their role. Like, FNG and Lil might be top 2 support duo right now in Dota with how they play. And I feel like that's what makes VP tick.
Oh yeah, we've seen those supports shine time and time again for VP, and really are laying the foundation for the Virtus Pro success every single game. Now, VP do have FNG, who's trying to farm up that Blink Dagger, obviously, via the jungle. Is level 5 and about halfway to that Blink Dagger, but not the really early 9 or 10 minute blink that you sometimes see from free farming SKs, and that's because he's got to share it with the Darkseer.
Yeah, and you usually see this, is that if the Darkseer or Centaur that they typically pick for DK Phobos has a hard time, what the stack was originally meant for, they just give to him, because they want to distribute the farm as cleanly as possible.
Yeah. There goes the double raises, and they do have FNG here. God is also sitting with an Invis rune. And an ion shell on top of him, but he realizes Sumail just doing the very formulaic clear through a rate. Raise 1, raise 2, go back, farm up jungle. So there's not going to be really any good opportunity for G to find a kill. Bottom lane, they are diving in pretty deep up against Lil, but he manages to keep himself alive via Cold Embrace. Fear doing some decent chip damage on that tier 1 tower is important as well.
Yeah, and you're seeing, like you said, why Shadow Fiend is so valued on the Radiant side, because it's so hard to press into his jungle, and he can just easily make a move, and G's going to be the target here.
Yeah, there goes that finger of death. AUI reveals that he is indeed level 6 with a quick kill on G, the first kill for Evil Geniuses, and perhaps a secondary kill as well, as Lil gets hit by the Fissure. Sumail trying to catch up. He's going to try and go for the raises, but there goes the Winter's Curse. PPD is forced to hit him, his ally, but Sumail will be able to survive through that. Gets a heal, and it looks like now we'll push onto this tier 1 tower, at the very least, to do some chip damage.
I actually kind of like how EG drafted it against the Winter Wyvern as well. There's not a whole lot of right clickers on the side of Evil Geniuses, and even if you pick it mainly for the control factor, that does play a part. Like how much damage people are going to put out.
Sure.
Because that just means that Sumail and Fear will just stand apart from each other in most of these fights, but Illidan gets a free tower atop, and if you're EG, you have to be so worried about this, because now it's viable for him to get something snowbally like the Shadow Blade.
Yeah, like, there could be a chance that Guardian Angel just completely destroys that Winter's Curse. If he's able to get it off on the target that everyone's trying to hit, you know, it's a good opportunity for you to be able to neutralize that ultimate. Now, God is going to get the Fissure in order to, well, actually the Surge in order to dodge that Earth Spike. We do also have Illidan coming in from the side here. Now, you weren't a big fan of the Shadow Blade, but it seems like Illidan certainly is. He's going to be rotating through the bottom jungle area. I doubt he's going to go for Fear here unless he has some extra help. And Darkseer coming in. Maybe if they force out the Doppelgang, even Fear's actually going to commit to this tower here. Illidan comes in from the side, forces out the Doppelgang, now has to land this pounce and will be able to. Fear, stuck, is going to be forced to turn around and fight, but there's no way he can win that engagement 1 versus 2. A quick kill, and perhaps a secondary one as Lil comes in from the side. Unfortunately, no Winter's Curse from him. And that means PPD simply repels and runs away.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of the Shadow Blade, but the timing he got it at, it seemed a little bit more obvious. Like, he was able to pick up a solo kill and a tower, and when that happens, it's always going to be viable, right? Because now you can snowball, now you can actually start to get some items, and it's a pretty good damage item too. Like, I guess there's enough on his team that can save him that he's not too worried, and he does have enough AoE damage to back him up that going for the Shadow Blade isn't too greedy, and it allows him to just pick off supports at will. And so now what ends up happening even more with the Shadow Blade is it allows Illidan to scout for wards, it allows him to scout for single heroes, and it means that EG have to clump up a little bit more. And I feel like EG are the team that need the most space in the game to be able to accomplish what they want to.
Yeah, even just forcing, like, PPD is going to have to play a very hard fight position on the Omni Knight if they want AUI to be able to pick up that early Blink Dagger, more so than most other games. Because we have a Shadow Blade out, this means not only wards, but counter wards obviously need to be laid down as well. So this is a much heavier cost, a heavier tax to these supports, which could potentially slow down their progression in items, most notably the Blink Dagger on AUI is going to be the most critical.
Yeah, and if you notice EG's positioning, they're just so grouped up right now. And Fear's going to run into Illidan in the jungle, but with the Shadow Blade and his ultimate up, I don't think Illidan's afraid of anything. Like, he's playing pretty aggressively here, but he has to know the rest of his EG are backed up behind him. And this is EG's move to kind of break out of their jungle and establish some map control, but they have to get something out of this smoke. Like, yeah. I don't think this is just, let's take a tower smoke. This is let's actually try to kill 1 or 2 heroes because the mid tower's low. But what they don't know is that FNG has a Blink Dagger of his own.
Yeah, and they've actually 3-man smoked up here. FNG has that ultimate ready to go.
Here
Plus,
we
they've
go.
got the vacuum potentially. DK Bubbles trying to stack. Does manage to grab some mail. Oh, the 3-man Fissure up to the ultimate. Incredible play from Universe, interrupting the 2 of them. And VP get dropped.
All right, they didn't expect that sort of backup from EG as... I mean, that Fissure timing from Universe and Sumail smartly positioned was just close enough.
It's going to go down as well. Sneaking around, catches out the Queen of Pain, and you couldn't ask for a more successful smoke from Evil Geniuses. 3 kills and a tower. Bottom lane, Illidan's actually committing to this tier 1 tower. He should be able to get out, though. AUI's not going to be able to catch up in time, that's for sure.
Yeah, and Illidan wasn't there for that engagement, and I think that was a little bit of a mistake. He decided to go for the split push bottom, But I think that mid tower is even more crucial because it allows you to keep control of your jungle. And if you notice what EG did, as soon as they take the mid tower, they place a sentry and an obs ward inside the enemy jungle to kind of get further control. And that's what you can't have happen when you lose the mid tower.
Yeah, this is pretty heavy commitment from EG. So many counter wards being laid out, but it is kind of what they have to do against such an early Shadow Blade. Now, let's talk about some other items here from VP. We've got the Orchid coming in 4G. Obviously, the other most popular item for Queen of Pain would be the Aghanims. What's the pros and cons between the two of them?
I think if you go for the Orchid, it's a little bit better. For especially helping out against the Omni Knight, because the Omni is not going to repel himself ever.
Sure.
The Aghanim Scepter is probably going to get negated by the burst heal that EG have. Like, there's a mech. They're going to make a move on PPD. He's immediately going to go down, but... Wow, that was that was fast. He thought Universe was behind him, but there's no amount of reaction time that'll save him there.
No, those 3 different nukes instantly taking him out. No opportunity to throw down a heal or even a repel, and obviously that repel isn't going to help you against Sonic Wave, which is now, by the way, level 2. So G still keeping up those levels. Net worth-wise, we are still seeing our SF top of the board. Now, that's not a big surprise. SF is one of those incredibly fast farmers that no one can really keep up with. Illidan is just trailing by 1K, and then you have the Phantom Lancer as well as the Queen of Pain operating in the same area. Illidan coming in through this top lane. He's going to be able to jump on AUI, should be able to quickly kill him and look for more, but Fear is already out.
And that's a pretty significant kill right now for them because AUI assumed that he was going to be safe, but they have that ward up there now too. So it means that what usually happens is AUI will split the off lane, and because most teams consider him a support, they won't even bother with him. He'll just sit in that top area, pop out for a stun, go back, and just kind of needle at you. And so Illidan is saying, nope, not today. I'm just going to Shadow Blade, pick you off whenever you try to do that, and stop your snowball progression.
Yeah, unfortunately, it won't really shut down AUI as much as it could have if that gank could just come in 1 minute earlier. The Blink Dagger was picked up from AUI shortly beforehand. PPD is going to be feeling some serious problems here. Oh, poor PPD is actually going to survive just a little bit longer than expected, but still goes down. Again, that Winter's Curse leading into the Illidan gank. Super easy. Bottom lane, they also catch out the Phantom Lancer.
Yeah, and right now, FNG might even run into Sumail. I don't know if they have enough damage to take him down. Yeah, he's got a Blink Dagger and a mech.
Not enough mana on the Sand King for a Burst Strike anyway, so they back themselves away. But double ultimates being committed for Fear, but well worth it. Shutting down his farm. Incredibly important. That early Diffusal Blade pickup obviously increases the power of the Phantom Lancer in these team fights just exponentially, it seems like. Not only the mana burn is incredibly harassive, but just the damage, even from the illusions, is pretty insane.
And I really hope that VP don't go for this right now. They have to understand that Sumail is way too tanky for this unless they commit with at least 3 heroes. And with Illidan coming down, he knows they have no vision of this, so he might actually go, but Universe is behind him, and both Blink Daggers picked up by EG, and they're just going to vanish as they realize that's not a fight they want to take. With no tier 1 up, I don't think they can take that.
Now, at what point does... I feel like the impetus is a little bit more on VP to try and take map control and be a bit more aggressive, though they both have actually, I feel like, a very similar lineup going late game. I'd side with EG's a little bit more. VP, how much farming time do they need? Like, do they just sit back?
Oh no! Illidan gets spotted out and immediately blown up.
That was such a smart smoke because they understood that VP most likely has wards in their jungle, and what this is going to allow them to do is finally take control of their jungle again, and more than that, it's to go for this Roshan, and this is EG's play. They always like to go for the early Roshan. They know that both the ultimates are still down from VP, and this is a good take by them because without Illidan, there's no way that VP should go for this. Like, there's a mech, there's an Omni in position, don't have
they
vision.
Get this. There's a really good potential for Winter's Curse here with
The Sonic Wave following up, but it's dangerous as hell. Pro Strike, 2-man vacuum, but there goes the Sonic Wave, wipes out 2. DK Bobo still surviving against Fear and Sumail, but it is a 1 fight for EG. They lose 2. But trade it off for another 2 and still have the power to be able to take this Roshan. Unless FNG jumps in for another Pro Strike. God comes in, the scream, FNG immediately blown up though. They get the Orchid onto AUI. God really wants this kill badly, but AUI's gonna be able to survive. Nope, the last nuke hits him before he gets off a potential Hex. And it looks like, yeah, it cost FNG his life, but they managed to push EG away from that Roshan.
This play, it kind of seems bad for VP, and they lost a little bit more, but it's probably worth it for them because they're just trying to stop the Roshan at all costs. And they can probably do that, and they didn't suffer heavy losses. So it was well played by VP, but they didn't expect to win that fight. It was more just, if you only have 2 players in the Roche pit, there's no way we'll take it. And getting this Aegis on the Illidan is well worth it.
Yeah, they basically made a trade-off almost in hero kills. I think EG picked up 1 more, but the Roshan going the way of VP is obviously, in my opinion, a much better swing. So VP, it felt like that was a very all-in maneuver from them in a way that if they failed to actually stop that and like not pick up enough kills and EG still gets Roshan, then that would have been a huge blow to VP's economy. But they are now looking pretty damn good. 3K experience and gold. But they are having their middle lane pushed in by Sumail. And they probably know he's got some backup behind him.
Honestly, Kat, for me, that kind of signifies what sort of team that VP is that they trust each other. Like, they probably made the call as a group, even though we're 4v5, they're set up, we don't have the best vision. We should still go for this because we can make this happen. And we'll sacrifice each other. We don't really care about kill death or anything like that, just to secure the Roshan. Great play by them. And Fear is getting a little bit more farmed. He has died 3 times though, so VP don't really have to worry about him as much as they do about the Shadow Fiend, and that's what we talked about, is how well the Shadow Fiend's going to do, especially when he has the Omni heal backup with him.
Yeah, looks like he's actually going to go for a BKB, so they can actually use the repel on someone else. There's no danger of a defusal really from anybody, right? Unless maybe Illidan goes for it, but that would be very unique. So it feels like this means he just wants a BKB so he can have magic immunity and they can pass off the repel to someone else.
Yeah, it'll be really good on Fear, and even putting it on somebody like Universe and not allowing him to get interrupted during his combo would be fantastic for them. And VP with the Aegis, they're trying to make as many aggressive moves as they can, but their bottom lane is being pushed out and FNG is going to be sent there. But it looks like they still want to make a maneuver at top as they do have ward vision.
Illidan did get spotted out by the 1 sentry placed just recently by the EG supports, and that's good for EG. They're down to just continue to sit back and farm, especially with Fear picking up a double damage, clearing through some Ancients, and Sumail continuing to farm as well. PPD still looking at that pretty much no item status. AUI has picked up Tranquil Boots after his Blink Dagger, but no real progression there. Universe, just the Blink Dagger for now, but that's really all the Earthshaker needs in these first 25-30 minutes.
Yeah, and you're seeing the power of the Shadow Blade right now. If you pick it up early enough, is that most of this time now, EG are kind of just grouped up together because they realize if they individually get picked off, it would hurt so much.
Is this just a really good read from the SF? Because now with the Diffusal actually being picked up by our DK Phobos, this means BKB is actually very necessary for our SF. He can't rely on Repel because it gets Diffusaled away. Now he has like the backup play. Repel gets taken down, he instantly BKBs.
You have to get the Diffusal, even for just taking away the Guardian Angel. I think it's just well worth it. Like, if you Winter's Curse and then he gets G8, you just Diffusal. I think that's how it works, right?
Yep.
And I think it's just a good play overall. And Sumail, no matter what happens, like, he can't rely only on the Repel. Like, he was going to get a BKB no matter what. They do have enough DPS with the amount of stun lock that they have early game, and Fear with his Diffusal Blade can put out enough. So it's just about taking away whatever buffs that EG can put on their heroes.
All right, so BKB is going to be up soon for G, but their Aegis is going to drop in about a minute and a half, so they really need to try and force something with that. Illidan making their rotation into the enemy jungle here. He may just run into PPD. Looks like Universe spots him out. Fisher gets laid in there, but he's already pounced himself over the cliff. Sumail quick to TP out, doesn't want to be caught. VP on the left-hand side, though, trying to jump for Fear, but it's skip doppelganger away, but now they get the anti-slam, holding it FNG. Fear almost goes down, but he gets the heal now. Big Winter's Curse onto Sumail, but it doesn't control enough. VP do not have the power to be able to get anything out of that. Illidan is going to be completely rebuffed there. Hex goes down, Dark Pact pounce away, and he is out. So VP lost FNG. That's about it. Might just lose a little bit more. Vacuum in. There goes the wall. Illidan trying to jump into that one, but unfortunately, again, EG have the defense with both the repel and the heals. Yeah, Illidan really wants to, I think, utilize this Aegis for a one-team fight, but it doesn't seem like he's just being outmaneuvered. They've already taken out Lil while Illidan still going for Fear, but he got him in the end. Illidan is now completely out of mana. He still has that Aegis. He needs to die soon, though. He's going to be blocked in. Looks like, yeah, he's going to go down here. It's actually PPD who's trapped here with God sitting on the side. He will be able to get that kill. Vacuum holding in Sumail. He's going to try and loop that ultimate. Illidan pounces away, though, gets to the side. Trapped by Universe, though. Ends up going down anyway. Now DK Phobos in some trouble. TP out, but Universe says no. Fisher on to 2. And EG, that was VP. It feels like just trying to force it a bit too much with that Aegis.
I mean, they had the advantage in the fight at some points, and they're like, okay, let's continue to push it, but EG, they just kited them forever, and Sumail with that ultimate. There's no way that Illidan thought that was going to be dropped on him, and without that ult of his own, he was just chased down by EG, and really well played by Sumail more than anything. Like, more than VP playing poorly or anything like that, I feel like EG just simply outplayed them from top to the beginning of the fight to the end, and now Universe has a huge chunk of change, and AUI's got his level 11 at the same time as a result of that fight, and EG, I actually think they're in somewhat control of this game, but they do have to still worry because that's a level 15 Slark, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, he is level 15, so that level 3 ultimate is going to be coming up soon. The problem is he did go for that Diffusal Blade, which does seriously hurt his stats, right? So normally we see maybe an early Scotty coming out from a Slark, which will increase his HP quite significantly. With the Diffusal Blade obviously not giving you any strength at all, this means our Slark is still incredibly squishy, and we saw that from the last SF ulti.
He really needs a BKB at this point in the game. There's just so much that crowd controls him. It takes him too long to be able to chase heroes down. I think he realizes that. I think if you're a VP2, you just don't go for fights until you can get something like a BKB on both your cores. There's actually no reason to fight before that point. And Queen of Pain's going to pick hers up, but I don't think they should comfortably look for a fight without an Aegis for Illidan, which would replace the need for a BKB, or him getting a BKB on his own. But the issue is that he's quite far away from it right now. Like, at earliest, he'll get it in the next 3 minutes. So there's going to be a time buffer where EG can pretty much do whatever they want on the map, because they have their own BKBs, they've got the repel, but VP actually is just going to say, screw it, we'll smoke on our own. This is going to be an unexpected timing, but they have to realize that EG is going to fight 5v5, and they'll willingly take this fight too.
Sumail, actually picking up the Perseverance there with the Ultimate Orb. But first, we got to watch on VP coming in through the side. Illidan is leading the way with the Shadow Blade. Now, there are some counters already set up from EG, so not a good opportunity. And unfortunately, Illidan walks back at just kind of the inopportune time here. Maybe he could have seen that EG smoke pop as 5. But that being said, EG are heading in the wrong direction. Doesn't look like they're going to be clashing anytime soon.
Yeah, and Sumail's going to go for that Linken's so that he can get the BKB ult off so the curse doesn't do anything. And I think that's a really good play by him too, because once his BKB, you start losing a little bit of charges, you can block the diffusal so that your repel stays on, and so that'll mean he's invulnerable for quite some time.
And jump on Illidan, there's the double ultimate.
And Illidan, even if he did have a tankier setup, I'm thinking those nukes were going to be enough to kill him no matter what. So, big pick off for EG, taking down the carry of VP.
And I'm actually so surprised still that VP decided to go for that smoke. And EG decided to go for their own because, again, they're looking for fights right now. They feel like at this point, this is the strongest that EG are compared to VP. And with Sumail being as big as he is, like, he's going to clear out this creep wave. They're going to go for the tier 2, and VP's best option right now is to try to clear out this bottom tier 2 and the tier 1 mid so they can easily access Roche and make EG pull back. But Universe is going to come back right now, and
nice attempt there. Looking to be able to stop that TP back. FNG putting himself up on the trees here. He's going to TP back as well, but the tier 2 tower is already down. Middle tier 1 is going to drop a bit low. Might go into deny range. Nope. Universe stops it from heading in that direction. So it's 13-13 right now. You're saying that Evil Geniuses do have basically the mid-game advantage at this point, that they're trying to look for these fights. Net worth-wise, it's quite even, experience slightly to the favor of EG. This is primarily, EG has an advantage right now, primarily because Sumail has focused so much on the mid-game, right? I mean, you've got 4 different items here, plus your boots, that are all like medium-tier items. We don't have him going for any big late-game items just yet. So this feels like a very heavy investment in him to make sure that they win the mid-game and they can prolong this game for Fear a bit more.
Yeah, I completely agree, but EG's net worth is meant to be a little bit low because they have PPD who's playing that PPD playing that Omni Knight, who's typically just going to have nothing. Like, with a Soul Ring and boots, everything else is a luxury to your hero. He might pick up something like Trinkle Boots for himself or Vlad's, but other than that, there's no single item that he can get any more in this game that'll really impact anything, so he's actually just going to be the one that wards up while AUI gets a little bit more aggressive. But I'm a little bit worried for EG because the real fight will happen once VP have both their cores with BKBs. Like, once that happens, we can really accurately judge how this game's going to go. But until then, it's not really clear because the next Roche fight is also going to determine so much for VP.
Oh, looks like a third BKB is actually going to come in as well. DK Phobos opts for the Ogre Club to potentially build into that one. Counter ward being laid out. Illidan looks like did get spotted. He also spies out the fact that Roshan is up. And this could be our next team fight. But is it to the advantage of EG simply because we don't have all the BKBs on the side of VP yet? It's only G who's picked up his.
Oh, for sure. Right now, if you're EG and you know that Illidan doesn't have that BKB yet, you still want to get aggressive on the map. And remember what I talked about, where there was going to be a 3-4 minute window where EG can pretty much do whatever they want.
Yep.
You're seeing that right now. They're pushing up mid really aggressively, even in ward vision. They're showing fear at top, and they still don't really care because they realize even in a 4v5 situation, they can take this fight. And
can they do everything they want, though? FNG's going to go for PPD. Armkid already out there. Goes the healer instantly. Illidan's looking for more AUI. Just ahead of that Burrow Strike. Nice two-man Earth Spike, but Illidan will be able to catch him anyway. Turns around, goes for the finger death, but not happening. VP have gained 2 pickoffs, and EG just feeling a bit too overconfident. You described it pretty beautifully. It looks like EG were doing exactly what you said, showing fear at top, aggressively pushing down middle, but the pickoff starting with the Omni Knight is such a critical point for VP. The fact that they managed to kill PPD first then allows them to quickly win the team fight and now be able to take Roshan for themselves.
Yeah, and most of these fights, they actually try to initiate on Sumail or a hero like the Earthshaker, and so this fight, they actually decided, okay, if we pop the Omni Knight, then it's a 5v3 fight. There's no way that EG will continue to fight at that point, and I think EG had the right idea, but they had to be ready to rotate a little bit quicker, and Fear doesn't have boots of travel or anything like that, so they have to anticipate that VP might want to take that fight, and VP doing a good job of taking opportunities right now, and this is going to be a free Roshan for them, and this is really significant because the BKB is going to come down at the same time on Illidan, and this is a really nice timing that they're about to hit.
So perhaps the advantage now swinging to Virtus Pro's favor in this game 1. 13-15, the score is quite even, both in kills and net worth and experience, slight lead for EG. So it's all going to come down to these individual plays. Now, we have Sumail finishing up his Lincolns, has another 2,300 gold. Fear does have his Manta, and it looks like he's going BKB. There's a lot of AoE control, so I wouldn't really say that it's a bad item by any means. It feels like no matter what you do, no matter how good you are with that doppelganger, there's enough AoE to clear through your illusions pretty quickly and spy out the real Phantom.
Yeah, there's no real reason not to go for it, and the only thing I'm a little bit concerned about Sumail right now is that he has built so heavily for this mid game that he does lack a little bit of damage. His survivability is pretty high, but other than that, that means that you have to outwork VP in these fights. Like, the way that he's built and the way that most of EG is built is just to outlast VP in fights, to try to kite as long as possible, live, and try to get a numbers advantage. And we're seeing that right now reflected in their builds, but what worries me right now is that VP might not care. With that Diffusal Blade, they can actually just catch up to most of the heroes in the game. Illidan's about to pick up a BKB of his own, and EG's going to find it rough to try to take down the heroes of VP, as their cores are quite tanky now.
Virtus Pro already setting up for this potential gank at top lane. You can see what Lil has done. He's flown himself over the trees. They're waiting for somebody, anybody to defend, and they could potentially pop both ultimates to kill that poor soul who tries to defend that tier 2 tower, and it looks like it might just be Universe here. Now he TPs pretty defensively. Let's see if Lil and FNG want to commit to this one. Universe, if he goes in for the next creep wave, I think he's very dead. There he shows himself, FNG first leading things off. And where's the ultimate Echo Slam? Gets laid out, quickly clearing through that creep wave. And Universe, they actually survive vacuum. No, there it goes. Now the Winter's Curse looks laid onto AUI, and it looks like Virtus Pro are going to make a re-entry here with the Epicenter, blowing up AUI immediately. Sumail, now right on top of Lil. You want to pop that ultimate? Go ahead. There it goes. Lil is out, and they also managed to take out FNG. 2 for 2 exchange there. But DK Phobos did get away to safety. They forced a lot of EG to rotate. And it looks like Evil Geniuses, I mean, they may have evened up that fight, but it's still VP basically forcing something out of Evil Geniuses while their cores were still farming around the map.
Yeah, you're incredibly satisfied with that, though, if you're EG, because you lost Universe, but you gained 2 heroes, and I think that second kill, though, it didn't have to happen. Like, VP could have just gone out scot-free. They take out the Earthshaker, no more commitment has to happen, but they decide that they can pop AUI pretty quickly, but AUI is actually really tanky right now. Like, he's got an urn, he's got enough HP to live throughout that ultimate, he's got that wand, and there wasn't really too much burst damage coming on the side of VP because neither of the cores were there, and so I think that was a little bit of a misplay, but it doesn't really matter because it doesn't change the fortunes too much on either side. There's still both BKBs available for VP, and as time starts to tick down on Sumail's, things get a little bit more rough for EG.
Illidan, again, he's been spotted out, I think, a couple times. They start pinging out this camp. I think they know Illidan is around. Sure enough, he's seen out by the counter warp. Illidan, of course, with his ultimate, his passive part of his ultimate, disappearing. He realized he's been spotted out so quickly. Dark Packs and pounced away. He'll be fine now. 20,000 net worth right now on the Shadow Fiend. It looks really impressive, but that net worth lead is really going to start playing almost against him in a way, in that he's running out of slots, and he's going to have to start trading in these mid-game items that he picked up for late-game items, which means that he's essentially throwing away gold in some way.
Yeah, that mechanism, as the game goes on later and later, you're going to see that VP don't really care about it too much. The burst damage is enough for them to kind of explode through it. And Sumail opts to go for the butterfly right now, and I think that's the right decision. Start building more into the late game, try to deal more damage if you possibly can, and you don't really have to worry too much because most of the time Lil is going to focus him with the curse, and so you don't really have to worry about Fear getting hit 100 times by the Shadow Fiend. You're more worried about your survivability and getting a butterfly. That means that nobody on EG will pick up an MKB or something like that, just in case it might actually screw Sumail over, but VP, the Aegis is going to run out pretty soon, and I think with that, as soon as the Aegis is about to fade, I think you just try to make an aggressive move if you're EG. Yeah, like try to group up together as 5.
On top of that, you probably have a good idea that most of Virtus Pro, they're not going to be able to get an MKB anytime soon. I mean, Illidan's commitment into the diffusal means that if you want to go for an MKB, go ahead, but it means you're not getting that Scotty. And again, that leaves you still incredibly squishy as the main carry here. Sitting below 2k HP as you start going 40, 45 minutes into the game is very difficult to work with, essentially. So Illidan is going to be kind of forced into making that decision. Blitz, if you're sitting there in Illidan's position, which one do you go for? Do you go for the MKB to counter out the butterfly, or do you try and go for that coveted Scotty?
I think you go for the Scotty, and you trust that you can burst through most of his HP just with spells. Once you get that.
Illidan initiated immediately. Echo Sand gets laid out. There goes the force snap and the Winter's Curse. What a counter from VP, as Illidan's going to be able to pop his VKB, and now starts right-clicking onto Sumail, but he's got that butterfly, so instead, Illidan turns onto PPD, trying to take away that healer. Heal goes out, but the Sonic Wave is an overwhelming amount of damage. Now Sumail is left practically without a team. Fear is going to come in from the side, though, and might just get Illidan, but he managed to get the Shadow Blade away, and they don't have the counter vision to reveal. G, also sitting on the side, will not be found, so an even fight. Both of the 2 and 1 positions of EG managed to survive. Is that just a dead even fight, Splits, or do you favor one team or the other with that?
I think I favor EG because they were fighting 4v5 for the most part, and they had a lot of the advantages going in, but they weren't able to do too much. And Sumail's got his blink in 1 second.
Oh no! He didn't get it off, so maybe the fight will play into Virtus Pro's advantage. Sumail just fighting up against Illidan. So strong! He may just go down. The raise is too much. He moves for more. Sumail challenging 2 versus 1 and comes out on top.
Sumail is such a beast right now. He understands the position he's in. He notices that without the Queen of Pain there, he's not going to really commit to a fight, and even losing the gem, and that was VP's gem, I believe, not EG's, and all of a sudden, that solo play just cost them so much.
It did. Now, absolutely, Evil Geniuses won that fight with the extra pick off on the Slark. Universe coming forward. Oh. Doesn't have his Echo Slam, so just a little bit of harassment and CS being picked up. And this now means that Fear will actually jump ahead of everybody else on the side of Virtus Pro. For the longest time, our SF was top of the board, but we had the heroes like Queen of Pain and Slark sitting in 2nd and 3rd. Fear has finally caught up to all of these other heroes that were ahead of him, and is going to be quite the beast that BKB still actually wasn't used in that last fight. So that was Fear operating without the magic of Unity.
Yeah, and right now he opts to go for the MKB, and I think this is the right decision, especially since He just saw it in that last fight.
AUI sees the opportunity. Samael's going to jump in as well. They're going to try both Pop Lil and FNG. It looks like they'll be successful. Lil stuck in the corner. PPD finishes them off with a nice self-heal, and this will mean tier 2 tower and probably push straight uphill. They don't know if Virtus.pro has buyback on those 2 heroes, but you might as well try and force it, and if it doesn't come out, they'll just continue for that tier 3.
There's no reason for EG to not continue pushing. They can even go for the Roshan after when it respawns, so at the very least, you try to pressure these heroes, but Ellen has to be careful. But
DK Bobo's coming in with the Sonic Wave as well. What a beautiful combination. Now Samael's stuck on the wrong side of that Fissure, but he will be able to blink himself away. Still, though, they just managed to save a lot of damage on that tier 3 tower with that kind of initiation, even if it didn't kill anybody. The problem is, EG still have to sustain to continue to fight. Fear is pushing back against G, and Samael is getting the heal up and does a bit more chip damage to that tier 3 tower. Meanwhile, Illidan almost looks like he wants to try and find a pick off here, but don't see how that's going to happen. EG are actually going to try and reinitiate this one. They go for the 4-man smoke up here, actually the full 5-man with Samael joining them. And if they can actually win a fight inside of Virtus.pro's base, this could be potentially the end of the game, or maybe just a full lane of Rax's. G is going to be the first pick off, immediately blown up by Universe. Beyond godlike for Samael as they start marching into the VP base.
And EG know, no matter what happens, VP don't really have any spells to work with. They only have FNG's ultimate right now. It doesn't do enough damage. He's not high of enough level, and Fear is just going to kind of mow everybody back because he's got his BKB. Doppelgang's down, and Illidan can't really hold these racks, and melee racks taken by EG, and they used so much to try to burst down EG, but they just didn't have the damage. They used the Queen of Pain ultimate, the vacuum perfectly with the wall, and it still wasn't enough to take down anyone in EG.
So Evil Geniuses walk away. A tier 3 melee racks as well as a couple kills. Much, much richer than they were before. That's net worth now skyrocketing upwards to their favor. Same goes in experience. The next advantage is going to be Roshan. It looks like this may go Virtus.pro's way, just because Evil Geniuses have already kind of blown everything that they had in order to get the advantage at bottom lane, so they don't have much to be able to try and defend Roshan.
And this is a game-saving Roshan. This is the one that'll kind of make things okay for you, because if you're VP right now, you're going to be really demoralized after what happened at bottom. You had to commit G's buyback. You didn't get anything else out of it. You weren't able to defend your racks.
Not EG. They actually have the double damage on Samael. The Universe is coming in as well. He does have the repel, leading the way with the invisibility Shadow Blade. He is gone. Again, he's going to fall. That's a dieback. Now Vacuum gets laid out. A 3-man vacuum into the wall. Maybe this will save the team fight. Epicenter coming in. AUI. Bounce, bounce, bounce. He's going to live as well. FNG unable to claim that kill and will end up falling. Universe even is not going to die. EG just went through VP 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now they can take Roshan at their leisure, or maybe just push down middle and end the game right here.
You don't even go for the Roshan at this point. You understand that the Queen of Pain's buyback is on cooldown. FNG uses ultimate as well, and if you're EG, you're so satisfied with what just happened in the fight. It doesn't even matter if you go for the Roshan. It helps out, sure, but this game's already over for VP as 4 heroes go down. All the ultimates were committed. 1 hero goes down for EG. It's PPD. Nobody else dies. Fear is going to get so much out of this fight as he has a full Manta. The Scotty's going to fly in soon as well, and Sumail with the triple kill, the Beyond Godlike for such a long period of time, and this is the Sumail that we wanted to see. A controlled one with perfect aggression, coming into the middle of the fights and dealing damage.
Yeah, 30 seconds left on the clock for the Slark, and I believe Evil Geniuses have realized he does not have buyback. They're going to try and take out this mid lane Rax and potentially go for top before this 25 seconds is left on the Queen of Pain. Fear's already up there, tier 3 tower. Looks like we do have one last fight for Virtus.pro, but if they don't win it and win it heavily, they're completely out of this game. Won't be able to make the comeback. Nice force tap over the side, but Echo Slam. Hello! There goes 2 already. Evil Geniuses. Just as the Slark and the Queen of Pain were about to come back, they forced it into another 3 versus 5. EG will now be able to take down that tier 3 tower, and somehow Illidan and the rest of his boys are going to try and make a miracle happen. BKB Pop starts going on to Universe, but look at the right-click damage to Samael. He pops his ultimate and will be able to take down Universe, but that's just the Aegis. Now they'll go for AY. Squishy targets through and through, but they're still not dealing with Universe himself, who's just beating on these heroes. DK Phobos trying to get back to the fountain, will be able to make it, but unfortunately our Slark is dead, and that's it. Game number 1 goes to the Evil Geniuses.
And I really, really hope that everybody on that panel praises Sumail. He started with that first set in mid, doesn't tilt, holds strong. I think he ends 16-1. Absolutely dominates that game. EG, the beginning was a little bit rough for them, but it was all them past the 20-minute mark.
Oh yeah, the most notable play that I can remember is that early in that mid tier 1 tower area, Blink